I think cooperation works better than confrontation. Kyun, Vijay ji? Anytime, anytime. So I've always said that I wish Vijuji was the president when I was chairperson of National Trust, but that didn't happen. So that's a lifelong regret that I have. Anyway, to come to my presentation, एक तो इतनी brilliant presentation के बाद मेरी turn है, and my topic is so dry and so boring that it's by itself it's like from the beginning it's of no interest. However, टॉपिक इम्पोर्टेंट है, इंटरेस्टिंग नहीं है मगर इम्पोर्टेंट है इसलिए कि आप सब अपने अधिकार को पहचानते हैं, जानते हैं शायद, मगर उसे अगर वो ठीक तरीके से रियलाइज नहीं होता तो क्या करना है आपको। बहुत सारे लोग हमेशा गुस्से में रहते हैं कि I don't get this and I don't get that and this is discrimination, that is exploitation, that is abuse. Fine, yes they are. How do you fight that? What are the redressal strategies that are inbuilt in the system? System में है वो strategies. आपको ये जानकारी देने के लिए मैं आई हूँ। तो आप कहोगे भाई पुलिस स्टेशन में गए, आपका सोने का हार चोरी हो गया, तो आप गए पुलिस स्टेशन में और पुलिस स्टेशन में वो कहा कि हाँ तो ठीक है आप ढूंढ लो ना, अपना हार आप ढूंढ लो, तो आप कहोगे कि नहीं मुझे FIR करना है, तो पुलिस वाला बोलेगा जी नहीं मैं FIR वगैरह नहीं करूंगी, तो फिर आप क्या करेंगे। अगर उस वक्त आपको ये पता होता कि कौन सी एक्ट में कौन सी सेक्शन में FIR लिखाना वो पुलिसमैन का ड्यूटी है, which section which act actually is in the CRPC, तो आपको कोई आपका अधिकार से अलग नहीं कर सकता। यही मेरा प्रेजेंटेशन है। एंड शाश्वती हेलो, I'm going to talk about the rights under the Constitution of India, the fundamental rights that the Constitution gives us, 14, 21A, and of the six most important are 14, 16, and 21A. Also, for the if your fundamental rights में अगर वो नहीं मिला आपको या कोई खेद है, कोई गलत है, तो सेक्शन 32 एंड सेक्शन 226 में आप इनके अगेंस्ट में केस कर सकते हैं। तो मैं यहाँ पे जस्टिस चंद्रचूड़ का पिक्चर लगाई हूँ क्योंकि उनको जब तक वो CG आए थे वो उन्होंने डिसेबिलिटी के ऊपर बहुत सारे अच्छे जजमेंट्स दिए हैं, इंक्लूडिंग इंक्लूसिव एजुकेशन वाला जो जजमेंट इंटरिम ऑर्डर उन्होंने दिया था इन अक्टूबर 21। तो आप जानते हैं कि डिसेबिलिटी वर्ड कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में नहीं है, and it's a big fight. I think Parivar and everybody together, we should start a fight. We should start a movement to include disability in the Constitution, a amendment home, because now the understanding is that disabled people actually have a vote bank and can make a difference. So, एक तो हमारे rights under the Constitution है जिसके लिए हम लड़ाई कर सकते हैं। सेकंड हमारा जो स्टेप्स है, फर्स्ट हम डिस्ट्रिक्ट कोर्ट में जाएंगे, फिर हाई कोर्ट में एंड देन सुप्रीम कोर्ट में। यहाँ पे मेरा एक चीज आपको बताना है, वो है रीजनेबल अकोमोडेशन। ये हमारे RPWD एक्ट में 5 बार मेंशन है, 5 times RPWD में reasonable accommodation is mentioned. And what is reasonable accommodation? It is anything that the person with disability needs in order to get a level playing field with others. वो education में हो, employment में हो, कहीं भी reasonable accommodation is now being looked at by the courts. And I want you to continuously remember this. Kerala made recently, this boy who was very severely disabled, he fell ill just before the exams and he couldn't go to the center, and he filed a petition asking for the not the examiner, invigilator to come to his house and take his exam. So pehle to court said no, nothing doing, and then he filed it under reasonable accommodation that as a disabled person I'm entitled to certain accommodation. So then court ne usko ghar pe bheja, and just before the exams he got that permission and he scored, he passed with distinction. So बात आपको जो नहीं मिलेगा आपको reasonable accommodation के अंदर में फाइल करना पड़ेगा. तो अच्छा आप अपना अधिकार तो आप जानते हैं, you know your rights. How will you get them? So first you have to identify कहाँ पे discrimination हो रहा है, कहाँ पे abuse हो रहा है, कहाँ पे injustice हो रहा है. Then you report to the state commissioner under section 79 of the RPWD Act. Then you report to Chief Commissioner RPWD under section 74 and 75. If that also doesn't work, then you go to the High Court. Now, please remember, Chief Commissioner of the state issue लेके कोई state secretary या state department में action नहीं ले पाता. So, High Court and then of course the Supreme Court. So, what are the range of legal options? मैंने पहले भी कहा fundamental rights है जो हमारे Constitution of India में sections 14, 19, 21 and Article 41 of the Directive Principles of State Policy. Now, 41 state में क्या लिखा है? Welfare is under state government, health is under state government, but these are directive principles. Public interest litigation के बारे में कह रही हूँ वहाँ पे आपको if it is in the interest of the public, like the Dubey case when he filed a case against the Airports Authority of India, and they were forced to start the ramp like they called. I'm trying to remember. I use it often now that I use a wheelchair at the airport. So, and he won that case. So recently, I think it was Saulia Foundation in Bombay who filed a public interest litigation about employment of persons with autism, and they got a very good hearing, and now they have been ordered by the Supreme Court, state governments and central government to look into employment opportunities. So the new laws, the names of the new laws, now your CRPC is called Bharatiya Saksh Adhiniyam, and the IPC is called Nyaya Nagarik Suraksha Samhita. RPWD is our disabled people and their families' base. And I'm talking now, going to move into section 74 of the CCPD, जिनका काम है आपको जो rights violation या आपका abuse हुआ या discrimination हुआ, exploitation हुआ, आपको अधिकार आपको नहीं मिला, उनको ठीक से एड्रेस करना, रिड्रेसल करना, और बहुत सारे केसेस वो अब तक हजारों केसेस साल भर में वो देखते हैं. Of course, there's a POCSO Act. तो हमारे मेंटल हेल्थ एक्ट में भी है, और बहुत सारे बच्चे हैं जो आपके पास है, जो बाकी है, जो intellectually disabled है, but also mental health issues उनके हुए हैं, और mental health issues की जो problems है वो in the new amendment of the Mental Health Act में वो थोड़ा change हुआ, मगर they have taken out intellectual disability from the Mental Health Act now. So what is a grievance? Grievance मतलब inquiries, recommendations, suggestions, or requests for different service. In other words, a grievance is an expression of concern or complaint voiced by any person who feels aggrieved because their rights are being violated. And what is a redressal strategy? जिसके बारे में हम कह रहे हैं, वो process of addressing these through a formal complaint लिखना पड़ेगा address करने के लिए. And what is grievance against what? Usually under discrimination, inequities, prejudice, stigma, looking for answers, looking for equity, looking for reasonable accommodations for level playing. So that is my presentation today. So I'm looking at what are the judicial mechanisms. First you identify, then you report. I've done this slide before, so I'm moving to the next one. Rights of disabled persons in India. Many fundamental rights, but I'm going to look at Article 15, Section 1 and 15, Section 2, where the government does not discriminate against any Indian, including those with disabilities. So 15.1 and 15.2 को please आप इस्तेमाल करें if you want to redress some of your grievances. And then we know offences and penalties जो RPWD Act में है, Section 89, 91, 92 and 93 कि अगर बच्चे को दवाई नहीं दिया जा रहा है, पानी नहीं दिया जा रहा है, खाने को नहीं मिल रहा, तो इवन अगेंस्ट पेरेंट्स कोई भी बाहर का आदमी वो कंप्लेन कर सकता है मजिस्ट्रेट को, डिस्ट्रिक्ट कलेक्टर को कि इन बच्चे के साथ अन्याय हो रहा है, और इस अन्याय को ठीक करने को सुधारने के लिए the magistrate has the powers because we have district courts and the act. So disabilities जो हमारे acts है उसमें से खास करके लिखा है that all persons with disabilities have the legal capacity under the RPWD Act as any other person. Now ये पहले नहीं था. We did not understand the legal capacity of people with disabilities. Now they've been given, and so they themselves can file many cases, and you as guardians and parents can file them too. So employment-related grievances, let me just remind you that if your children are working and you find that they're not being treated fairly, that there are grievances according to discrimination, whether it's fair pay, whether it is working conditions, whether it is demotion, or whether it's expulsion. You have every government institute and every establishment, the responsibility is with the health department to look at grievances. अगर वो नहीं हुआ, तो फिर आपको CCD ऑफिस को कंप्लेन करना पड़ेगा. And government establishment होगा, so they have to appoint a grievance redressal officer, and within 30 days, those have to be, the issue has to be addressed. And अगर CCPD office जो और state commissioner, नहीं तो district court, special court, etc. और सबसे ज़्यादा देखा गया है, आप बहुत सारे दिल्ली, छत्तीसगढ़, झारखंड, बहुत सारे कोर्ट्स में the maximum number of cases from disabled persons, including CCPD office, is regarding employment. ये नौकरी नहीं मिला, ये promotion हो गया, ये promotion नहीं मिला. Next one in the CCPD's office is related to education. Admission नहीं मिला, admission मिलने के बाद school से निकाल दिया गया वगैरह. But I have inquired very deeply into the CCPD's office, and they say that from parents of ID, autism, CP, this group that we call IDD, minimum number of complaints आते हैं, बहुत कम आते हैं. आप लोग complaint करते ही नहीं हैं. This is what the CCPD's office says. People with visual impairment, hearing impairment, people with mobility impairment, they are filing cases left, right, and center and getting redress. Mother, improve the parents, especially those with multiple disabilities. And worst of all is the case of girls with disabilities. उनके against में बहुत कम complaints आते हैं, whereas we know, you know, I know, we all know that girls with disabilities are very badly treated. There's so much exploitation, sexual abuse, there's so much discrimination, even in the home and in the institution in which is supposed to protect them, and yet complaints don't come. So school related, the school head is supposed to address situations of discrimination. If not, then it has to go to the NCPCR, which is the National Commission for Protection of Child Rights for any school-related discrimination or complaints. So, discrimination equality, legal capacity, reasonable accommodation. These are three issues I would like you to understand, both in RPD and in Mental Health Act and in the UNCRPD. These are very clearly defined, and these are the numbers that I have given of the sections under which you have cases against. So I'm going to start now. I'm going to start now with how do you apply to the Chief Commission. It's a very simple process. You don't think it's complicated. The Office of the Chief Commissioner. The Office of the Chief Commissioner has the power to address your grievances. If not, they have the power to counsel the opposite party. And ये बहुत simple सा तरीका है. पहले आप only for persons with benchmark disability. आपको पहले उनका वेबसाइट को खोलना है. खोलने के बाद कौन फाइल कर सकता है complaints and grievances? वो parents हैं, disabled people हैं, anybody can file. But particularly person with benchmark disability. किसके against में कर सकते हो? आप किसी की भी against कर सकते हैं, वो government हो, non-government हो, private हो, सबके. तो एक चीफ कमिश्नर की ऑफिस स्टेट गवर्नमेंट की कोई डिपार्टमेंट की अगेंस्ट में नहीं कर सकता, मगर एनी सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट can be approached, and they've won many cases in favor of disabled people. So how can this be done? So first, I'm repeating the how. A complaint must be filed containing the following. जैसे विजोर जी ने कहा, पहले आपका नाम देना पड़ेगा, आपका डेट ऑफ बर्थ, जेंडर, एड्रेस, ईमेल आईडी देना पड़ेगा, मोबाइल नंबर देना पड़ेगा, एंड आपको नेम एंड डिस्क्रिप्शन एंड द एड्रेस ऑफ जिसके अगेंस्ट में आप कंप्लेन कर रहे हैं उसका डिटेल्स रहेगा, और डॉक्यूमेंट जो है, जो आधार कार्ड वगैरह टू सपोर्ट. एंड क्या रिलीफ स्टार्ट है. हाँ, मुझे बहुत गुस्सा है, इसलिए मुझे मेरे साथ ऐसा किया, ठीक है क्या, फिर आप उनसे क्या चाहते हो वो भी आपको वेरी क्लियरली डिफाइन करना पड़ेगा. व्हाट डू यू वांट फ्रॉम दैट पर्सन, हाउ, व्हाट काइंड ऑफ रिड्रेसल डू यू वांट. टाइम बहुत कम लगता है, विदिन 3 months. कैन इट बी डन एक्सपर्ट मीन्स आपको जाना नहीं पड़ता, आप फाइल कर दीजिए. आजकल सब ऑनलाइन होता, एंड एक बिना किसी ऑपोजिट पार्टी को सुनाए के बिना आप इसको यूज कर सकते हैं. You can, and the Chief Commissioner has the power to give orders without addressing or without calling the other party. एक फॉर्मेट है, उसमें 6 डॉक्यूमेंट्स है, उनके आप फीस लगेगा नहीं, आपको वहां पहुंचना है नहीं. दूसरी बात मैं आपको कहना चाहती हूँ, एक सीपी ग्राम्स एक पोर्टल है. सीपी ग्राम्स है, सरकार ने अभी खोला है. उसका पूरा नाम है सेंट्रलाइज्ड पब्लिक ग्रीवेंस रिड्रेस एंड मॉनिटरिंग सिस्टम. ये गवर्नमेंट की अगेंस्ट में, सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट के अगेंस्ट में आपका डिसेबल्ड पर्सन या नागरिक का कोई भी ग्रीवेंस हो, आप उनको लिखिए. और ये मैं एड्रेस वगैरह दे रही हूँ. दिस इज द आईडी http://pgportal.gov.in. इसमें 6 स्टेप्स है. आप अपना रजिस्ट्रेशन करवाए, आपका कंप्लेंट डाल दीजिए, और आपको 3 months के अंदर इसका जवाब मिलेगा. एक चीज और मुझे गुजारिश है जी, from on behalf of PARIVAAR, the funding given to the disability sector in this year has been less than Vijay ji. funding given to in the budget, funding given to the disability sector this year is less than last year. This is not acceptable. And also, only 3 ministries have been given disaggregated data. Even education ministry, जो समग्र शिक्षा में जो inclusive education का जो budget है, उसमें कोई details नहीं आप मांग सकते हो because they have not identified exactly how much they are. But overall, this time in the budget, Nirmala ji did mention disability. And budget-wise, budget नहीं रहेगा तो हम काम क्या करेंगे? So I would grossly overestimate the power of Parivar in order to fight, because budgets make all the difference. And ये लड़कियों के बारे में मुझे कहना है कि आपकी ई में भी और एनईपी में भी आप बहुत सारे फाइट कर सकते हैं. Again, in NCCPR, State Child Protection and in the Chief Commissioner's Office. And these are the further resources for information. And I end my presentation here. I'm sorry, आपको सब बहुत देर हो रही है, आपका कल्चरल प्रोग्राम भी है, मगर मेरी तरफ से आप सबको बहुत बहुत नमस्कार and lots of blessings to all of you. I look forward to my ties with Parivar defensively. God bless you all. God bless you. Thank you so much.
I got one question. One question, madam.
Yes, Vijay.
There is one section 92,
Yes,
which is as strong as Atrocities Act against scheduled caste and scheduled tribe. Now, do you have any knowledge of this section being used anywhere as a criminal complaint against a person who insults a person with disability?
No, I don't have this information, but I know that if cases are filed, in very increasingly courts are looking at disabled people's special needs, especially under reasonable accommodation. You know, there was this girl in West Bengal actually, a blind girl who was raped and hurt in many ways by her brother's friends. And the court initially said, okay, what you need for a rapist is visual identification. But she was blind. So the court says, how can you be sure that she's telling the truth? So then she applied for this reasonable accommodation clause, and they understood that because she was very familiar with these boys. And finally, the court gave a verdict, and these boys were punished for life. So I don't have the information that you're asking for, but I know that more and more jurisprudence is accepting the special needs of persons with disabilities with regard to equity and with regard to reasonable accommodation. There's much more laxity, much more understanding of the needs of disabled